Hello, Team Flyer. Welcome back to the Always Do Leader podcast. I'm your host and creator, Ariadna, and we're back for another Go Do Fly Wednesday. We're talking a little bit about everything. It's just with me, myself, and I right now, and all of you, and I'm very, very honored to be here once more. I'm honored to read your comments, to read your messages, your emails, your DMs. I'm so excited, and I'm so just honored to hear your stories, and also for you to ask me certain questions, and I'm like, oh my god, I can talk about this in the podcast a little bit longer than, a typical Instagram post or a TikTok or things like that. But yeah, thank you so much for everything that you do. I'm so excited to be here once more. For those who are also brand new and want to know more about Go to Fly, what it means, it is a movement I created many moons and stars and suns ago. Quite a few years ago by now, and it started through blog. It started through my blog, thealwaysbluer.com, which is still very active. I did conferences, I did activities with teenagers back in the day. Just a little bit of everything, to be honest. And then I decided to launch a podcast, and here I am 2 years later with... I'm just so thankful with all the listens and all the views. Goodness gracious. I read your messages from literally around the world. So thank you so much once again. And yeah, the Go to Fly movement. And it's all about encouraging yourself. It's all about getting back on track. It's about making changes in your life to fulfill your dreams. Look at that ambulance go. Goodness gracious. They're cheering us on, aren't they? It's all about making changes in your life to fulfill your dreams, like I was saying. It's all about helping others, about telling the people you love and our fellow community, of course, to go do fly. This is a movement, people, I want to have this message be heard loud and proud. To go to fly, once again, to stand up for yourself, to be your own hero, to work smart for your goals, to be yourself. And it literally is for the go, as in go do fly. It's go out and live your dreams. Do of the go do fly. Do whatever you need to get you there. And the fly of the go do fly. Fly and fly high. You got the power to pursue your goals. You got the power to reach higher because it is within you. It is within you without a doubt. So as you already know, we participate in real stories around the world, telling tales of rough paths and big journeys. There's lots more on my website, once again, thealwaysbeliever.com. And season 1, season 2 are packed with guests sharing their own stories and just letting that all come to life. This season, as you already have seen, we're wrapping it up, truly, and maybe sadly a little bit, because I do love recording. We've just been a little bit more up close and personal this season, and it's been lots of fun, and that's where, we might be heading a little bit that direction. I'm working on a lot of things behind the scenes. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. If this is your first episode, if it's your 100 and something episode that we're in, basically. Thank you so much for being here. All right, so let's get this party started over here. I want to present you with one of my favorite sentences, quotes, ways of living life, basically. And it is, every day we're presented with 2 choices, evolve or repeat. And I adore this reminder, and I remind myself often, not only when New Year's arrives or my birthday or things like that. I do it often because I want to make sure that I'm always evolving. I have talked about this in previous episodes this season because I do read your comments and you're like, oh my god, you're right, like we're not the same person we were like 5 minutes ago. I'm like, exactly. And with that statement that I've said in different episodes in this season and definitely in the past, of course, I'm also choosing to evolve. I'm choosing to overcome those repeated mistakes and be like, let me figure it out. Why am I stopping here? Why am I always stopping against this rock? Let's figure out the why, And that's one of the most important things you can do with your life is figuring out your why, your purpose. And I did talk about this with Shayla, which I think is reminding ourselves of our why. I think that's the name of the episode with her. But this is also a little bit of, why is this happening? Let's investigate. Let's stop for a second and take deep breaths and understand this mountain or this rock that we keep finding in this mountain. And through meditation, and like I said, meditation can look many different ways, but through your own moments of self-reflection, you can choose to evolve, and I often do. And that means what we always talk about: breaking stigmas, breaking generational trauma or curses, whatever, cycles, whatever you want to call it. But it also, goes into more of a self-reflection of me, myself, and I moments. Why am I always, difficult in relationships, with friendships? Am I not being true to myself? Am I not being able to express myself and my needs? Am I gathering with people that they're more self-involved than anything else? Is it me? Like, what is happening there? That used to happen to me a whole lot many years ago. And I think it's also part of the constant change and the constant way of evolve, how we evolve, because as we said before, we just said, we're not the same people we were 5 minutes ago, let alone a few years ago. So evolving friendships, evolving tastes, evolving everything just makes sense. And that's just, for me, that's the way to live, And yeah, so which one are you taking? Which one are you taking with you? Are you evolving? Are you repeating? I mean, evolving constantly is very exhausting. So, where you can evolve in friendships, maybe you're not evolving in your career and vice versa, and that's absolutely fine. But as long as you do that in general, little by little, those baby steps definitely count. It is up to you to make those decisions full of growth and self-love and healing, because you are beyond capable of changing your life into whatever you want. And, same goes. Currently, I'm very, very, very happy. I'm still healing a whole lot. I'm actually also recovering from a cold. And, I had the two options. Do I record? Do I not record? Do I stay resting? And I'm like, you know what? I'm definitely feeling a lot better. And I'm going to take my time recording maybe a shorter episode today, and not only to put content out there because I have to, because I feel like I should or need to. No. It's because I understand my body, and I'm like, oh, I can give a little bit of a push recording for an hour or so, and then I'll rest. Instead of doing a million other things the rest of the day, you know what I mean? So I think that also is a huge influence and a huge way of impacting you in the sense of evolving. Because maybe before, well, I know not maybe, listen, there's no maybe there. Before I would have been like, oh, it's okay, I'm sick, and I'm going to record, and I'm going to go to that event and this event, and then I'm going to be out all day, and the next day it's going to be out, and then I just got burned. And not only because I would have been overtired, overexhausted, not listening to my body, and maybe, effing up my body the way that it has in the past, but also, I wouldn't be taking care of my relationships. I wouldn't be taking care of my time nor my energy. And as we learned all along throughout the past few years of life, and definitely this season and every single season, your energy is a privilege. Your energy is sacred. So that's a great way. That's a great example of me evolving. Oh, I can do a little bit. And if I felt like I couldn't do it, I would not be doing it. I'd be like, no, my health comes first. So yeah, my biggest question for you right now is what kind of energy are you bringing right now in 2022? There's currently, whenever I'm recording this, whenever this is coming out, I want to say this episode, June 8th, 2022. I don't know when are you listening to this, what year you're listening to this, wherever in the future that you are listening to this. What kind of energy are you bringing to this moment? Are you choosing to evolve, or do you feel stuck in different areas in your life? Why don't you go reflect on that a little bit, For me, I really, really work on myself on a constant basis. And that can look like many ways, shapes, and forms, as we already have talked about. And in this case, I do find pure joy and bliss in every decision I make. I do find myself, that's one of the biggest changes that I've encountered for myself. I'm doing more for myself. I'm saying yes to myself a lot more than I used to. And I love that because that means I'm taking care of myself through my soul, my body, my mind in general. And not only like in every move I make, whether it's, let me record now, let me record later, let me postpone, or I have energy to do this now. Let's, not only in those kind of daily tasks, but also in the people I let in. I feel like I'm taking so much joy out of all the new people that have been arriving in my life that I'm actually choosing them rather than feeling obligated as I would have in the past, And as I always say, of course, it's taken me some time to get here because I've repeated some lessons. Believe me, I've repeated quite a few lessons because who hasn't, Obviously, through the ups and downs and all around, like, my biggest thing is to keep positive and be thankful. I think that's what's grounded me the most. If you're asking me, like, oh, well, how do I evolve and how do I choose that? And, like, how do I get out of my comfort zone? Well, first things first, look at the positive and be thankful. Like, literally, those are come hand in hand. I think be thankful comes in a little bit higher than be positive because there's the moment you start realizing that, like, the more in your gratitude you are with everything around you, the happier you are because you have everything you need right in front of you. And that's literally it. And then off that, you base it like... you transform yourself little by little, aka you evolve, because then you start asking deeper and like more thoughtful and inner peace questions for you. I was trying to say also, like, as a reminder to be kind to yourself. I feel like that's just like a huge reminder people need, especially nowadays. I get a lot of clients and comments, and I'm just like, how are you so mean? No. Let's focus on being like kind to yourself. So that's my 2 cents on that for now. So yeah, like the moment that I become grateful every day, the moment that I stay positive, because I have to remind myself, it's so easy to go to the negative. It's like it's in our nature to be negative because that's today's society, and it has been for many, many years, and that's what we've been programmed to do. So to stay positive, I'm not saying like, don't be sad, don't ever be sad. Like, no, sweetheart, be sad, let your emotions out, be angry, feel that rage and do what you need to do. It's absolutely fine. But within all that, remember that you can find so many things to be happy and positive about, Anyways, after doing all that, I continue being disciplined by loving myself, and that can show up in any way I please. That means either taking a nap, that means eating a pack of M&Ms, even though I haven't had M&Ms in forever, I think. M&Ms are really not common here, so I would eat something else, I guess. Eating a chocolate milkshake, drinking a chocolate milkshake, because I love chocolate. I do love chocolate, but that's going to sound like I have a sweet tooth, and I really don't. I really, really don't. People have been pointing it out. It's like, you really don't eat like junk food. I'm like, no. Believe me, I'm like, I'm currently training as well. I'm recovering. I'm in rehab for my health, my back, and all these sorts of things. And I'm training, and I'm going to like the food doctor that I forgot the name and all these sorts of things. It's like, I'm seeing you eat, and you don't really. I'm like, I know, and this is what's in my fridge right now. And this, I don't know. Something super important. Like, how do I realize that I don't eat junk food? Or like, how do I realize about how much water I drink? And how do I find out these kind of things that people always ask me? I'm like, you have those moments of self-reflection. That's what the being disciplined in. That's what self-love is. That is how you show up for yourself. So these little side anecdotes aren't just for you to know, like, oh, I didn't really, eat healthy, I guess. You know what I mean? No, it's for you to see, like, oh, you take that time out of the day, you write it down on your notepad on your phone, or you take an inventory of your kitchen, of your fridge, of what you have, if health is an issue for you, or if you want to better your health, your physical health, better said, actually, because health is also your mental health is important. So that's why, for you to evolve or repeat or whichever you want to choose, you start by reflecting on these moments and reflecting how you act as well, how you feel. Like, I'm not saying 24/7 by any means, because once again, that's very exhausted. I'm just saying, take the time, as a reminder, as today's reminder, take that time out for yourself to remember Are you evolving or are you repeating? You know? Oh, I did write this down actually, because I'm looking at my notes. I like literally just glanced over really quickly. I'm like, oh yeah, remind myself to treat myself kindly and to treat others kindly. Once again, treat people with kindness. That's the number one thing. But what we have to remember is treat ourselves with kindness all the time, please, and thank you. You know, all these sorts of things that I've been talking about up to now. For you to be who you want to be, unapologetically yourself. You're ever loving, you're adventurous, you're blissful, you're joyful, you're whatever adjective you want to insert here to describe yourself. In order for you to do that, one of the biggest things that I didn't want to talk about actually ties in really great is normalize talking highly about yourself. That is super duper number one on the list. Important and needed and wanted as an everyday task. You gotta normalize talking highly about yourself. Because no matter who's around you right now or what's around you right now, you are your own biggest cheerleader and supporter, no matter what is happening in life, because your life can look completely different from here. Tomorrow, it could drastically change it for the best. I'm not saying for the worst. I'm always talking about the best. It doesn't matter where you are. You were born by yourself, even if you're a twin or a triplet or then some. No, even if you're a multiple, you're still born by yourself and you pass away by yourself, aka you're your own best friend your whole life. So talk to yourself every day with love, appreciation, kindness. You go through so much via your mind, body, and soul. Every single day, we're presented with so many different options and decisions and people and tasks and duties and the list goes on, regardless if it's your loved ones, if it's your kids, if it's your pet, it doesn't matter. You're still, presented with so many things to do. And even if you're like, no, today I'm just relaxing, I'm lounging, I'm on a holiday at the beach, or I'm just in bed all day, you're still presented with options of like, what do I eat? When do I eat? When do I shower? What show do I watch? Do I go to the beach now? Do I have the martini now? Do I have the martini later? So on and so forth. You know what I mean? Not that I drink martinis. Martinis is a code. I just remembered. I'm like, oh, that's why I'm mentioning martini so much. I'm thinking about a certain someone, a dear Team Flyer member. And her name's Martina, so hence I always called her Martini to just make her laugh, basically. Anyway, so for all the Martinas out there, that's where that name comes from. Anyways. We gotta normalize talking highly about ourselves. You know what I mean? I also understand that it's hard, that it's challenging, that it's an uphill battle. Because we weren't taught. We weren't taught to love ourselves. Ideally speaking. Hopefully, for example, if you're the Martina that I was talking about, she was born and raised they taught her to love herself from a very young age. But overall, in general, through generations, we still haven't been taught. So this is where the change comes in. And, I feel like one of the biggest practices that has been challenging even for me is to, look at myself in the mirror and tell myself all the things I love about myself. And sometimes that's like if I'm looking at my body, if I'm like, oh my God, I love my thighs, and I do love, what are they called? I don't know who to ask right now because I'm recording by myself. Oh my God. I actually don't know the name, but I love mine. Hold on. Let's have a moment here in time. Stretch marks. We're back. I took a quick moment to research this word. My stretch marks, I actually fell in love with them. I didn't really know what they were when my whole body started transforming. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like what is happening? I have a cat, as you already know. And I thought it was like cat scratches from him because the way they look, it looks a lot like cat scratches. And I'm very, very playful with him. He's like, he doesn't scratch out of like evilness. He does not scratch you hard, believe me. It's just he's very playful and very loving. And I'm like, oh, that's just kind of normal. And then, when I looked even more, my doctor was like, no, those are stretch marks. I was just thinking the name in Spanish. And I fell in love with them. I truly did. I don't know if that's weird or not. I actually don't know. But I haven't really asked. Like, do you love your stretch marks? What do you think about your stretch marks? No, when I was going back and telling you about the example in the mirror, for example, that has to do a lot with your body. If you do it like in your underwear or your bathing suit or naked or whatever you feel comfortable. But it also could be, like, you can be fully dressed and you talk about your mind as well. Like, looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I'm kind, I'm loving, I am smart. And you can give yourself examples of how you were kind. Maybe you held the door for a stranger. Maybe you helped a stranger across the road. That has happened for me twice this week. For example, I live in a city. It's very busy. That's just what it is, living in a city. You're always holding the door for somebody. Well, I guess you don't have to if you don't want to, but I always do. Anyways, dig down with examples, and you don't even have to be like, oh my god, the time that I helped my friend through like a really hard breakup. Yes, that's also very, very important. But you can start small, and just because you think it's small, if you think, like, even if it's small, it still counts. That you held the door, that you made it on time for the bus, and you held the bus for somebody else as well because they were running for the bus. Once again, you can tell that I live in the city because these are all city examples, I feel like. But you know what I mean. Like, just find those examples for yourself and start talking highly of yourself, to yourself and about yourself. And obviously not in a boastful kind of way. Like, don't go all, Johnny Bravo. Even though I don't remember Johnny Bravo enough, I don't even know if the people I'm talking to right now, Team Flyer, remember Johnny Bravo. I don't remember it much. So I don't know how much of like an egoistic character he was. I don't know if it's that or if he just really had a whole lot of self-love. But you know what I mean. And if you don't know Johnny Bravo, then Google it. I think it's from the Cartoon Network in the States. I know he always just talked about himself, but like I said, I don't know. Maybe it was not the best example. But you can leave me your thoughts in the comments if you know Johnny Bravo. Basically. Anyways, yeah, just because you talk good about yourself doesn't mean that you're boastful. It just means that you're secure. That's how you start gaining confidence. And the moment you gain confidence, your whole world changes. Lizzo. I was just watching Lizzo and her like show on Amazon Prime and like Big Girls. And I'm like, that's some self-confidence right there. It's June, it's Pride Month. So many people who are just proud to be themselves and just out there. And even if it was December, it doesn't matter. Like, there's so many people we're surrounded by. They're unapologetically themselves and have that self-confidence. And that's what the world needs a lot more of. Oh my god, this week I went to watch Fluffy Iglesias. He came to the city and I got so excited. He was so good. He is so good, Fluffy Iglesias. Like, oh my goodness gracious. He's a comedian. He's a Mexican comedian who lives in California, because he says he's very proud of that. Of his Long Island, I think that's where he's from. And he's just a really great stand-up comic. He talks a little bit of everything. But one of the main reasons I also love him is that he has a Netflix show called Mr. Iglesias that talks all about education. And some of you may know, I have been a teacher. I was a teacher for a really, really long time and still am teaching to some extent because I'm still a coach, I'm still a mentor, I'm still doing a whole bunch of stuff in that area because I personally do love it a whole lot. So that show doesn't have a lot of seasons. I think only 2, if not mistaken, maybe 3 tops. It didn't go on, which was sad, but there's like the message of the show is really, really good. And he's incredibly funny as well. So within all this, why did I start talking about Fluffy Iglesias? So he was talking actually to the show, him and his other He brought on 2 other comedians, and one in particular, which I also will tag down below. His name is Martin Comic, at Martin Comic, better said, on Instagram, because he's Martin Moreno. And with him and Fluffy Iglesias, Gabriel Iglesias, they were talking about body positive and how they were like body positive warriors and all that, and not making fun of it by any means. Literally just kind of the opposite, saying that like even as men, like they're so used to having, if you look at the models and male models, you know, they're like ripped, 6-pack, blah, blah, blahs. And they're so happy that women, that we go through so much already, like they gave us props for that, which they should, of course, and cheered us on. But anyways, they're like, we're so happy to see that body positive has gone, like you see so many sizes now, little by little. We want to do that with men as well. Obviously, Gabriel talks a lot about his health issues and what he has going on within his stand-up, like, shows that he goes on tour, but also, like, if you look online, he also talks about them as well. I think through interviews and whatnot. And I found it really interesting because I'm like, I love that perspective. And all this started, like, I recommended to them because I talked to them shortly after the show. And also Justin Baldoni. And he talks about that, like, Man Enough. And he opens up that whole, like, world into men being vulnerable and just talking about their weight, talking about their issues in a safe space. So all that to say that not only go, please watch Gabriel Iglesias on tour, and you can have so much fun, please and thank you, because oh my god, just great overall, really, really great, and fantastic and epic and wonderful, like a freaking 2-hour show. I swear, I was laughing. Me and my husband were just laughing the whole time. All that to say, once again, as I'm losing my voice, that means I'm going to start wrapping this episode up. That change of people being self-confident is starting to show, and I want you to show up for yourself as much as they've shown up for themselves. This is why I post what I post, is why I talk what I talk about, because it's so important, not only to myself, but to our community, society, etc. But most of all for myself. Because if I start taking care of myself, like right now, I know for a fact I'm going to start wrapping up so I can go take a break, so my voice can take a break and all these sorts of things. I am also going to continue speaking highly about myself to myself every single day, not only as mantras, not only as affirmations, but because I know that I got it within me. I know my worth. And the more I show up for myself, the more I'm going to show up for my future kids, the more I'm going to show up for society in general. Because it's not like, oh my god, I want to like inspire the world. Like, sure, of course, but most of all, I want the world to be more free, to be freer, to be more people being more unapologetic themselves. For men like Fluffy, like Gabriel, like Martin, and like Justin, for example, and all the men that he brings on, I want them to feel comfortable as well. In general, in their own body, in their skin, and talk about these things because it's important. It's simple as that. And guess what? Where does that start? Self-confidence and self-love and involvement. Evolve. All right. So if you can hear the sound of my voice, you definitely know that right about now, I'm going to be saying, till next week, basically, because goodness gracious me. I guess my last little 2 cents with all of this and this little quick episode is keep in mind that you're the most important person. Take some time for yourself to reflect, to be with yourself, to enjoy your thoughts, to take those decisions so you can evolve and you can become a better version of yourself. And as another reminder for all those people who are still doubting or things like that, I think the best sentence I can think of right now is, imagine if all the time and effort you're putting on everybody else, you invested all in yourself. And you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about with this, you know? Once you do that, once you start investing in yourself, you're going to be vibing in a whole new and higher frequency. Period. I think the road to self-love is a long one, but I don't want to say complicated. I think it's just discipline, confidence, and discipline, because it's consistent, basically. And yeah, you're gonna, have moments of ups and downs, but I don't think that makes it complicated. I think it just makes it beautiful. The moment you start saying no to things and start setting boundaries and start, showing up for yourself, the moment that you understood yourself a lot more and you checked in on yourself and you treat yourself. That's something else I got reminded about this week because I went to the comic show. Is it called a comic show in English? I don't know. Stand-up show, I guess. I realized, I'm not in survival mode anymore. I'm not in flight or fight mode anymore, whatever it's called right now. I'm definitely hanging up in 5 minutes, babes. So, I told you I treat you all like my best friend, basically. I'm on a phone call with you. You gotta realize that you have broken a lot of patterns by now. And even though sometimes you might feel like you're slipping back into it, it's fine. But the more you check in on yourself, the more you realize, I just shake it off a little bit and that's it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go to more events because I'm able to go. I have the power and the possibility to go to these events after all these years of not being able to go them because of the pandemic, because of a million other things, So that was a good reminder for myself. Things like that. Treat yourself, my goodness. And treat yourself doesn't only mean go to a show or go to a concert or go out for, lunch. It could be have an extra workout, have more yoga time, have more coloring time, have more you and your pet time. I don't know. You know what I mean? So yeah, last and not least, but definitely last, as I go on, take care of my body a whole lot more as always. If this resonates, let me know. Share. If it resonates, share. If it resonates, share that love and that wisdom that I just shared with you. Comment, subscribe, follow, whatever button you need to click. They're all free. They're all free. Doesn't cost you anything. They're right there. And I appreciate you doing that. That's how we're going to make the world a whole lot better, a whole lot brighter, and a whole lot more beautiful, babes. That's simply it. You know what I mean? So if it resonates once more, also tell me, what are you doing today to make you feel more powerful? What are you doing today? What's a daily positive mantra you tell yourself? What is that? How does that look like? Just tell me, babes. Thank you so much for being here. As always, you truly, truly make my day. You truly make my life better. I love reading your comments. I love your shares. I love the fact that you listen from all around the world. And I'm thankful that you are there giving me that safe space as well to be myself. And that's just, once again, pure, pure magic. I will see you very soon. We'll talk very, very soon. You know where I'm at. And if not, of course, alwaysbeliever.com. And have a beautiful rest of the day, week, wherever time that you're listening to this. Night, good night, I guess, for some. I don't know. Still, we're here. We're moving. We're grooving. And, yeah. What I always say, that I haven't said in a while. Hug tighter, love stronger, and believe till infinity and beyond, and then some. Till soon, Team Flyer. Byes.